Hello, my name is Praise Okada and welcome to Side Plug. And I think more importantly, welcome to the first installment of our Coding Bootcamp series. Through this Coding Bootcamp series, the goal is to give you a full stack web developer bootcamp on the internet. I hope that made sense. For completely free. When I was learning, I remember wanting something just a little more structured than bouncing from video to video because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I looked for courses, looked for books, and everything just cost money, and I didn't have any. So hopefully this solves that problem for you. So throughout this first installment, we're going to be doing little mini assignments, little mini projects. And if you want to share your work with someone, there's a link to a Slack group below in the description. There might be nobody in it because this is a very new thing, but I'll be in it and I will see your work. If no one else sees it, I will see it and hopefully give you feedback on it. Um, yes, so please feel free to join that. In the meanwhile, again, welcome. So this first installment will be focusing on HTML and CSS. Let's start with HTML. So simply put, an HTML file is just a text file that's marked up with special code that tells an internet browser like Chrome how to interpret, how to display the data that it's getting from the server onto the user's screen. That was a lot of words, so let me put it more simply. An HTML file is a text file that tells your browser, hey, this code, this is how I want you to show it on the browser. This is how I want you to show it to the user. So I want this one to be a big header. I want this to be a paragraph. I want this to be an image. Things of the sort. And how does it achieve this? How does it say, hey, this is a header, this is a body, this is a paragraph, this is code? How does it do that? It uses something called tags or elements. So each tag means something different to the browser. For instance, this one tells it, hey, this is a paragraph. While this one, of course, can you guess, tells it this is the title. Now we're ready to write our very first lines of HTML. If you don't already have a text editor, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Google and type in Visual Studio Code, and you want to find yourself on this page, and you want to download Visual Studio Code. It's a wonderful text editor. It's completely free, and it's going to allow you to write code, and it's going to give you wonderful tools that are going to make your life so much more easy. If you can't find it on Google for some reason, just go to code.visualstudio.com and it should take you to the page you need to be on. Once you're finished installing, let's move on. Okay, so once you have Visual Studio Code downloaded, it should bring you to a page something like this. If it has like some getting started stuff on there, that's perfectly normal. That's great. And if you're on Mac, it should look pretty similar. It looks the same on my Mac, so there should be no issues. So the first thing we're going to do to get started writing our first HTML file is go to File, and under that, click New File. Now we're just going to click Select Language. We're going to type in HTML. This, of course, is going to change once. It's going to change automatically if you just save your file as something. Save your file as something .html. But that's just the way we're going to do it for now. But keep in mind, you can also just click New File and save your file as an HTML file, and you'll end up here too. So earlier, we mentioned this one, P. And what is that? It's just a paragraph. So this is a paragraph. with you. I'm going to go ahead and save this file, and I'm going to call it hello.html, because why not? So congratulations, you've written your very first line of HTML. Now let's look at it. How do we do that? What you're going to want to do is go to this side panel here. You should see open editors and or something along those lines, but you should see the file you're currently working with. You're going to right click it, and you want to click reveal in File Explorer. So this is where it brings me, and surely here's my file. Don't ask me about this picture. It's handsome Squidward. It's normal to have saved on your computer. It's okay. Anyway, so it's brought me here to this file, and I'm just going to go ahead and open it. I'm just going to go ahead and run it. So when I click open, you see it brings me to my web browser. In this case, I chose to open it using Internet Explorer, but you could open it using any web browser that you have available on your computer. And you see, there's my line of code. There's my line of HTML. It says, this is a paragraph. Okay, so I've put some different HTML tags in the description. What I want you to do is go ahead and give them a try. Write a whole HTML file using those, you already wrote a whole one, but use those tags to create something more complete, something more whole. Just try them out, see what you can do with them, and then head right back and let's continue. Now let's take a look at CSS. While HTML provides the structure, CSS provides style. So while HTML says, hey, browser, here's how to display this, CSS says, well, here's the font of this, here's the color of this, here's the spacing of this, here's the animation you should put on this. Essentially, CSS allows you to change the look and the feel of a web page without changing the underlying HTML markup that you've written. Think of it like adding a theme to a PowerPoint. If you remember, HTML uses tags or elements. In this one, we talked about the paragraph tag. Hopefully you've explored a little more and learned about other tags. But CSS uses something called rule sets. And a rule set looks like this. So we have selected the paragraph. We've told it, hey, this rule set is for paragraph P, right? And my rule is that P should be, I want it to be dark blue there. And this is a rule set. So if I were to connect my HTML file and my CSS file, which I haven't named here, but if I were to connect them, this paragraph would now be blue on my web page. Don't worry too much about that right now. You will be writing your own CSS very, very soon. This is just an introduction to rule sets. If you're still not quite sold on CSS, which I guess is tough too since I didn't show you how to write any actual CSS yet, but if you're still not sold on it, here's a wonderful example of websites without CSS and how not great they look and how awesome CSS is for us as web developers and web developers in training. Before we move on, let's discuss how HTML and CSS are processed. Unlike other web technologies, HTML and CSS are processed by the browser. So other technologies, they may be processed by the code you write, may be processed by a server, or even on the developer's computer before being sent out. But CSS, it's processed by individual browsers. So what that means is Chrome could look at a piece of code and interpret it slightly differently than Internet Explorer would, or than Opera would, there it is, or than Firefox would. So it might result in slightly different looking code. It shouldn't be too drastic of a difference, but different web browsers will interpret HTML and CSS slightly differently, just because each individual browser is responsible for processing the code. Okay, well, that's it for this first part. Well done. Congratulations. You are well on your way to creating beautiful websites, and I'm so glad that you decided to embark on this journey. Okay, well, that's it for this first part. Well done. You are well on your way to creating beautiful websites. Congratulations. See you in the next part.